What's up guys, Imislav here to talk about some Jumpstart spoilers. So Jumpstart is kind of this weird way to draft. They give you two boosters with different themes, and then you put them together and play. But I think the coolest part about this is that all these cards are legal and historic. So since Arena came out, I always thought they should make a format where they do things that you can't do on paper, like totally random things, or taking cards out of a pool, or searching without shuffling afterwards. So I'm really stoked for this. So the mechanics are, first of all, so you randomly pull cards from your library that meets that criteria without shuffling afterwards. So as I was saying, we won't have to shuffle anymore because it's a robot doing all the job. The second ability is perpetuality. You modify a specific card permanently, even as it enters the zones of play between hand, exile, battlefield, and graveyard. And the third one is Conjurer. Create a card for you to use and can include uncollectible cards that aren't otherwise in a set or format, such as Pioneer, Stormfront, Pegasus, and Tropical Island. Faceless Agent is a 3-mana 2/1 changeling. When Faceless Agent enters the battlefield, seek a creature card of the most prevailing creature type in your library. So I like this card. It's not crazy or anything, but in tribal decks like Goblins and Elves, it's a pretty good 2-for-1 for 3 mana. You get the elf down, and then you get a random elf in the game, which I wouldn't say is stronger than drawing a card. But I still think there could be like 1 or 2 of in tribal decks. Lumbering Lightshield is a 2-mana 1/4. When Lumbering Lightshield enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals a non-land card at random from their hand. It perpetually gains this spell cost 1 more to cast. So his body is actually pretty good for 2 mana. It'll definitely brick wall some aggro decks. And it's kind of nice to see one card of your opponent's and tax it. But if I've got to compare this to any card, it would be the Elite Spellbinder, who is 1 more mana and has less total stats, but it has flying. But you can look at their entire hand and tax them by 2. So I think this Elite Spellbinder is really good. So if you're ever going to play one, it will be this. But if you're actually running Elite Spellbinder and you want to be even more disruptive, then you can use them as a cool little tag team to just make sure they don't cast anything. Tome of the Infinite is a 3-mana artifact that has pay 1 blue tap. Conjure a random card from Tome of Infinite Spellbook into your hand. It perpetually gains. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. So these are the cards you can conjure. The Light of Hope, you guys can read them. For every color, really, there's one like really strong card, and then one not so strong. Lightning Bolt is great, it's always 3 damage. Force Spike can surprise people. Dark Ritual can be completely insane. Ramping you 3, that's probably the best one. Evaluating this card is basically, if the game is fast, if there's a lot of aggro, this card can't see play, because paying turn 3 nothing is a death sentence. But if there's a lot of control and the game goes later, this card can give you some serious value. With card draw, counter spells, life gain, Assault's probably the worst, because you're probably playing control and you don't really need double strike. But Fog can actually be game winning, especially if you're playing this in the control shell, which I think is the only shell this card is going to see. So yeah, I think it might be a pretty strong card. So Dabriel the Soul Broker is a 4 mana, 4 loyalty planeswalker, which has a +1 until your next turn. Whenever an opponent attacks you and or planeswalker you control, they discard a card. If they can't, they sacrifice an attacking creature. Then they have -2. You accept one of Dabriel's offer, then accept one of Dabriel's conditions. Then -3, target creature perpetually gets -3/-3. So these are his offers. I'm not going to read all of them because that's way too much work. And here are his conditions. So yeah, just pause the video whenever you can and just look them over. So he seems kind of okay. He's got 2 ways to protect himself. Either if they don't have a hand and only creatures, then you sacrifice one of them. Or you can give something perpetually -3/-3. I can't tell you how good this card is though, because I do not even have a concept of how the -2 functions. There's just so much information. It's one of those cards that you need to play to see if it's good. But I like the offer part and conditions and everything, which it seems very interesting, but maybe it's a bit too slow, I don't know. So Subverse Aclet is a 2-mana 2/2 that has pay 2 life and 2 mana. Choose one. Activate only once. Subversive Aclet becomes a human cleric and it gets +1/+2 and gains lifelink, or subverse aclet becomes a Phyrexian. It gets +3/+3 and gains trample. And whenever this creature's dealt damage, sacrifice that many permanents. So this is a pretty flexible card. I don't like that you have to pay 4 mana and 2 life to make a 3/4 lifelink. But it's kind of nice that his second ability, we can get +2/+3, and the whole Phyrexian negator ability, when he gets damage, he sacrifices 70 permanents. So either it's an okay blocker, makes the game take longer, or your opponent has no creatures, they have no mana tapped, everything, turn into the 5/5 and finish your opponent. But yeah, it's an okay card. It's not going to break any formats, I don't think, but it'll definitely see play. Also, the double black for devotion decks would be pretty good, because he keeps it when he transforms, right? Yeah, he does. So yeah, pretty good in the mono black deck. So Sharkan the Wanderer to Shiv is a 4 mana, 4 loyalty planeswalker that has a +1. Dragon cards in your hand perpetually gain. This spell costs 1 less to cast, and you may pay X rather than pay the spell's mana cost, where X is the mana value. And then it has a 0, can show a Shiv and Dragon card to your hand, and then a -2, where the planeswalker does 3 damage to target creature. So each ability solves one problem. The first one, making all your stuff less expensive. Let's say you have like 3 dragons in hand. His +1 is permanently making 3 mana, and more if you have more dragons, of course. If you don't have dragons, the 0, which conjures a Shivering Dragon, which is this one, my first card, so it's cool that it's seeing some play. And if you need to protect it, it's got the -2 to deal 3 damage to target creatures. So it's not bad in a dragon deck, of course. Because I think in a non-dragon deck, these 2 last abilities aren't strong enough. But you need the +1 to make him viable. So Sharkan's Scorn is a 3 mana instant that has Sharkan's Scorn deals damage equal to the number of turns you have begun to target creature or planeswalker. So I like the design of this card. How it gets more damage as time goes on. If you play this on turn 3, the card is not good enough. It is not good enough to see play, because 3 mana for 3 damage is very below. But if you can make it to turn 6 or 8 or farther, this hand becomes really efficient at destroying big threats. So it just depends how fast your deck is. It's a shame it can't shoot face. If it shot face, it would probably be too strong. But it's an interesting card, and I would look out for it, especially if you're like on a red control deck. And that'll do it for the recording today. I didn't do every card, so I just did every card I thought was interesting. Anyways, if you liked the video, like and subscribe. And I also have Twitch that I try to do every 2 to 3 days. The link will be in the description. So thank you so much. Have a good one.